can run and hide, maybe truth or a lie, but you'll always carry shame. You pretend to smile, never let them see you down. If they do, they won't forget. Living like a vagabond, your heart's like a vagabond. I remember when you were all I knew, consume my aching soul. Couldn't love myself more than I love you. I never made no sense, living like a vagabond. Your heart's like a vagabond. There's a dream I have where I'm never sad. It's a place I wanna be. Will you take me there? 'Cause I know you care. Break free of all the pain. Living like a vagabond. Your heart's like a vagabond. Forgive yourself, forgive the rest. Throw away what weighs you down. Living like a vagabond. Your heart's like a vagabond.
That's Colorado's own Christopher Charles Romero with Vagabond. And welcome to K4CO. Good afternoon. We also happen to have Christopher Charles Romero with us in studio right now. Thank you for being here, Christopher.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Are you, well, let me get started from the beginning. Singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, actor, writer, director, producer, an abstract artist, and it doesn't end there. We'll get to that later. Let's
lot,
just
right?
dive in, man. Are you from Colorado?
Yeah, born and raised. Born in Denver, grew up in Brighton.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from there moved to Nashville and then back to Colorado.
Okay. So, and now you're based out of Greeley?
Yep, Greeley, Colorado, northern Colorado. Yep.
When did this journey begin for you, wanting to be an entertainer?
The musical journey, high school.
Yeah.
I was, 15, 16 years old, but my love for music goes back even further. I think the first time I ever heard Kiss or Van Halen, buying those records, and I didn't have aspirations to be a musician at that young of an age, but when I got into high school, got my first guitar, and then
became more than a fan.
Yeah.
And you started on guitar.
Yep.
And just sitting on the edge of your bed playing along with your favorite records, kind of deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Self-taught, learning by ear, and kind of went from there. Taught myself piano and drums and bass, and I didn't start singing until later on, like in my 20s. More or less. I was really focused on guitar.
Yeah, in your voice, it sounds like it came naturally, if I may say. I mean, was it a lot to learn how to sing, or
I think the same way with guitar,
just came out
singing along to my favorite records, and still to this day still trying to find my voice, so to speak. Absorbing everything, listening to everything. I still think it's like a journey of learning,
of course,
even at this age. And doing it as long as I've been doing it. Yeah.
And besides some of the influences like Kiss and the Van Halens, you've actually played with some of your influences, haven't you?
Yeah. So one of the coolest things probably would be working with George Lynch. So of Doc and
Yes,
Lynch Mob.
Lynch Mob, one of my favorite guitar players.
So that mine too. My top three, I could tell you my top three would be Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, and Neil Schon. Like
Perfect.
those three guys, you know, just big part of shaping me as a musician. But yeah, it was pretty surreal to be able to work with George. I ended up actually fronting Lynch Mob for a handful of dates back in 2011. And that kind of solidified the relationship. And from there, I was able to get him to play on my first record. And we did some charity events together. And he played in my band. I played in his band. It's been crazy. I still freak out when I get a text from him or whatever, because I'm like, I immediately go back to being that 16-year-old kid, docking posters on my wall.
Fan.
Yeah, and I'm still a fan. But he's a friend, and so yeah, it can be.
That gives me chills because I loved George Lynch growing up. Had all the cassette tapes, of course, of Doc, and wow, what an incredible guitar player! I actually met him on the first Lynch Mob tour here at Bangles. I don't know how long you've been here.
Yeah,
but it's no longer there.
Yeah, I used to play there in a cover band.
Yeah, me too.
Bands.
And just a very mild-mannered guy.
Yeah,
very
real
humble,
laid back,
modest, very laid back. And he's not far
absolutely.
from here either, isn't he? Isn't he based out of Arizona somewhere?
He spent some time in Arizona, New Mexico, but he's still Southern California.
And how did it just come to being on each other's records? How did it get to that point of fronting Lynch Mob?
So I literally can remember the day. So in 2011, well, let me go back a little bit.
Go ahead.
2006, 2007, I was in a local band called Drug Under. And we had a little bit of, I guess you could say, regional success. We were blessed with the opportunity to do some really cool nationals and do a handful of shows in that sense. We had one record that came out in 2005, but we ended up going and doing some dates supporting Lynch Mob through Colorado and Texas. So that's when I got to really know him, and jump up, to 2011. I literally get my phone's blowing up real early in the morning, like in the middle of the week, and I'm like, I see 818. I'm like, okay, well, that's California. Who is it, I wonder? And it ends up being a guy named Robbie Crane. If you're not familiar, Robbie Crane played with Vince Neil. He was in Rat for about 15 years, and at the time he was with Lynch Mob. So Robbie calls me, and he's like, hey, bro, what? He goes, what are you up to? And I was like, sorry, I missed the call because I let it go to voicemail. It was real early. I was sleeping. I was like, sorry, bro, I was sleeping. He was like, hey, dude, we're kind of in a bind. He goes, we're literally on our way to the airport to LAX, and we have a show in Houston tonight, and our singer just bailed, and we don't want to cancel. He's like, do you know any of the Lynch Mob material? And it was like, what? It took a minute to kind of register because he was talking pretty quick. I was just waking up, and I said, I don't think I know enough material to pull off a show. And he's like, well, you know some Dokken tunes? I said, yeah, probably more so than the Lynch Mob stuff. He goes, all right, well, George's wife is going to book you a flight like right now. I need you to get to the airport. There's only one flight leaving Denver to Houston. You've got to get there now in order to make it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I jumped out of bed, threw some clothes in a duffel bag, and then I go outside, swear to God, my car won't start. Dead battery. I'm like, what? So I call one of my friends. I wake him up. I was like, dude, can you get me to the airport like now? So I flew to Houston. We get there. They pick me up. George says, you can pick the songs. You pick the set list. And I was like, okay. So I just did my best to go with what was more familiar.
And this is just to sing, or is this also rhythm guitar?
Just singing.
Just singing, okay.
Just singing for Lynch Mob.
Go ahead.
So I ended up doing a handful of dates, and then they were able to fly somebody in that knew the material better. But from that moment on, George and I became friends, and we like I said, we started doing some charity events together where I was just, learning more of the material in case that opportunity ever came up again.
Yeah.
And then when I started working on my first record, I just said, would you do a co-write with me? I have an idea for a song, but I'd love you to play guitar. And he's like, sure. So I flew to LA and we recorded at his studio, and we worked with his producer. And it was, ever since then, we've just been doing shows together off and on.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
George is great. I'm glad that he's still out there, as a career shredder.
Yes.
He's amazing. Let's play one of your songs. Take a little song break here. Tell us about Broken Sun.
Broken Sun is kind of a heavy song in the sense of lyrically and what's behind it. My mom passed away in 2020, and just like my biggest fan, and it was one of those things where I look back and reflect, and I kind of felt like as adults, you go through these waves in the dynamics of the relationship with your parents. It's always changing, evolving. You're living your life, they're living their life. And it kind of reflected that I didn't feel like I got to say everything I wanted to say. And so it was sort of written from that perspective. And I sort of incorporated my younger brother, something like a tribute, and also just wanting to kind of just, say what I didn't get to say.
Kind of helped you with a little closure.
Yeah, some closure, absolutely. Very therapeutic.
Yeah. And also a tribute to Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
It's a really great song.
Thank you.
This is Christopher Charles Romero with Broken Sun on K4CO.
I wish I could take back those things I said, and I was wrong. I was out of my head. Yes, the words cut deep like the dull end of a knife. Now I can't sleep and it ain't right. So let me say what I should have said, and let me do what I should have done. And can you forgive this
your encounters with Eddie Van Halen and what an effect he's had on
Yes.
so many lives, especially
Right.
yours and mine.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you about your film career. I actually watched Damon's Revenge yesterday.
Did you really?
Amongst my research on you.
That's awesome.
I didn't get to part 2, which is Burial Ground Massacre. I haven't gotten to that one. Maybe I'll try that tonight. And what's great, I mean, it is very campy.
Yeah, it's a B movie. They're God, how do I say this politically correct without offending anybody?
The movie itself.
like cheesy, fun
Yeah.
horror films,
Yeah.
like popcorn movies, like the old school B movie. Just
People you don't recognize other than Tom Sizemore and Michael Madsen.
and Sully Erna.
And Sully Erna.
from Godsmack.
And there was a scene with you and Sully. And you as Chief Tocho, I should
Yeah,
mention.
yeah.
But there's this scene with you and Sully, and you just dwarf him. He comes up to like your... Because he is not a stature guy.
Yeah.
But Sully is one of my favorites. Godsmack's always
Yeah.
been a really great
That was
rock band.
what a blast to be a part of that. Yeah.
So were you just acting in that one, or did you
Yeah.
have a production? Or...
I was acting in Damon's Revenge, and Burial Ground Massacre actually was acting and did the entire film.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
Well, I'll have to
fun.
look that. I'll look at
Yeah.
that again. And did you have any scene? I don't know if I noticed a scene with you with Sizemore or Madsen. Madsen's hardly in it, and he's Damon, right?
No scenes with Sizemore in terms of dialogue, but at the end of Damon's Revenge when he shows up, we're all in the same scene together.
Okay.
But I didn't get to
Doing you
act.
one-on-one.
No one-on-one. I wish. He was a great actor.
He was great.
He was awesome. It was a lot of fun to be on set and kind of just observe and watch some of these guys. I'm a big Tarantino guy, so working with Mazda was like this.
That's
is
a big
awesome.
one. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And Sizemore, this couldn't have been long from when he died.
He passed away exactly a year ago in March, and we shot the movie just about 2 years ago, and it came out last year.
And I was looking up his last movies, wondering
one
if
of
this
them.
was, but
One
it
of-
was close to one of his very last
one of
movies.
his final films. Yeah.
Well, tell us more about your film career beyond Damon's Revenge.
So I've done a little bit of. It started out working as an extra, doing stuff on anything TV stuff, but kind of my first thing where I got the bug, so to speak, was in the summer of '94. They were shooting. Miramax was doing a movie with an incredible ensemble cast. It was a film called Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Love that movie.
Oh, Andy Garcia, Christopher Walken, Christopher Lloyd, Treat Williams, William Forsythe.
That's one of my
Dude,
favorite top 10 cult.
yeah.
favorite
So
movies.
And even if I wasn't in it, it makes my list because it's right up there with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. It has that element and the grittiness. And anyway, so when I heard about the movie being in production and being shot in Denver, I somehow tracked down the production office that was set up locally, and I thought this might be a good opportunity to get my music in a movie. So I never went there trying to act. I showed up at the production office. I dropped off a press kit, which back then was a cassette and an 8x10 and a little bio, and trying to get my band on there. And I get a call literally the next day. They left a message on my answer machine. I was like, oh, wow, they're calling back. They must love the band. They said, hey, would you come in and meet with our casting director? They want to talk to you. And I still thought it was about the music. I go in and they said, hey, would you like to audition in for a role? We're looking to cast these 3 characters, the brothers, the Montiers brothers. I said, absolutely. So I read for it and I got the part. Now my dialogue was cut, but the scenes are all in there. So the guy who plays my brother, he was the main guy. So it was me and another actor named Danny Romo from Los Angeles. So yeah, we were the 3 main bad guys from Albuquerque that killed Andy at the end of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
I literally, I even told, he can back me up on this. I think I watched that movie about 2 or 3 months ago just because I have to watch it every now
So
and
do
then.
you remember the scene where the old man is in the restaurant, which was Jack Warden?
Yes.
He's telling a story.
Or the ice cream shop?
In the ice cream shop, and he says, oh, they hired the brothers, the Montiers brothers out of Albuquerque. So at that particular moment, we're driving in a truck. So the camera pans. I'm sitting in the middle, Danny Romo, myself, and I don't remember the other actor's name. And then at the end of the movie, when it cuts to Andy getting out of his car, that was shot in 5 points, just off of Welton, I think. And we shoot Andy. So the three of us are the three gangsters, the cholos.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to go pick
from
you
then,
up now.
yeah, I ended up doing a handful of. I've probably got about 12 or 15 credits in film, either music, acting, or both.
Wow.
So I've done quite a few, and I just I'm in a movie that's out right now called Junction. It's a pretty heavy drama about the opioid crisis. It was written and directed by Brian Greenberg. He's an actor that's God, what was he known for? He played the boyfriend on the Mindy Project. He was one of the doctors.
Okay, I know that name.
He's been on some other stuff, and I'm blanking, but
Where can we find Junction?
Junction's streaming right now
okay.
on Amazon Prime. And then I did a movie called Killer Inc., another kind of B-movie horror film where I actually had the lead role in that. And we were able to get Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca.
Yeah.
He plays my uncle in the film. That was a lot of fun. We got to work with some really cool local cast and crew, and a couple people from LA that came in, and we shot that in Brighton in the summer of 2010. That's streaming as well.
Okay. So it goes a lot deeper than you let on as far as your website and whatnot.
Yeah, quite a few films. What I'm trying to think, what else? I sound like I'm very prepared.
It's fine.
I get so much. Like I said, 10, 12, 15 movies. I've written music for Duck Dynasty. I've, like I said, and I've scored a couple of films. I love the acting side of things too, and I've directed some music videos for some people like John Corabi. John Corabi was the former singer of Motley Crue and Scream. When I was living in Nashville, I worked with him, so that's where the directing credits come in. And I'm just now finishing up a script for a movie that we hope to shoot at the end of the summer, if all goes well, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
That you wrote yourself.
You're writing. I'm going to write it, and I'm going to direct it as well.
Excellent.
And so we've got a few names attached, but I can't say yet because I don't want to jinx it.
Gotcha.
But when it happens, it's going to be a pretty cool thing.
Looking forward to it. Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back. I mean, there's just so much to you. Let's play another song.
Sure.
I want to squeeze in as many as we can. Tell us about "Let It Go."
"Let It Go" is a new song that's going to be on the forthcoming record, which actually comes out May 17th. It's called Cinco de la Rock and Rolla, the 5th album of the Rock and Rolla series, kind of going back to the first record here. Okay. "Let It Go" is just kind of written from my perspective of like, you can't change the past. You can't. It is what it is. And literally, as cliche as it is, like, just live in the moment. And I think that's lyrically where I came from. And it musically, I think it has a little bit more of this kind of Americana vibe, less of the hard rock and some of the other things that I've done. But again, I've never been easy to pigeonhole in terms of what I'm doing genre-wise, because I listen to so many different styles and I like so many things. I literally write just what I feel, and I don't like to be put into a box.
Yeah, you have quite a range after listening to a lot of your music. Well, let's play "Let It Go." This is Christopher Charles Romero on K4CO.
Running from a nightmare that you've been sleeping through. You can't seem to shake it. I know you think
Let It Go from Christopher Charles Romero. That's Colorado's own Christopher Charles Romero. And if you're just joining us, Christopher is with us in studio. We're having a nice little chit chat, getting to know Christopher. On the long list of
All the
things
titles.
you occupy yourself with, abstract artist. Is this painting?
Painting.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you have a studio? Do you do this at home? Or
I at home, yeah. But I've been.
do you show?
Yeah, I have, and I haven't for a while. Not since we moved back, or since I left. So I think the last time it was 2019. We did an art thing at a place called Bonaquisti Winery. But yeah, I've sold a lot of paintings. As a matter of fact, Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch, he bought a bunch of my stuff and it hangs in his house.
So what are we talking about here? I don't have it in front of me. Is it
a lot
kind of like
just,
your music, just a wide range of
literally abstract colors, different things. I'm gonna have to somehow show you those later. But that's fine. So one of my biggest clients is Ivan Moody. But yeah, I used to do it just for therapy, and then people were like, "Oh man, you should sell these," and I was like, "I'll try." And that was that kind of thing.
And when you say move back, you're talking about Nashville.
Correct.
How much time did you spend in Nashville? And tell us about
almost 3 years. That was a fun adventure. We kind of, my wife and I, have done everything just kind of off the cuff, very spur of the moment. Don't follow the typical normal things for people our age, I think, and it's almost like something you would do if you were retired or something. Mm-hmm. You would go and do this, but we just went on an adventure, and I ended up getting work right away, working at a recording studio. So it was awesome, and I think part of the only reason I think that we didn't stay is I always tell people that I really liked Nashville, and I didn't fall in love with it the way that I love Colorado, and the truth is I missed my family and my friends. But I'm glad that I went there because it's added so much to who I am and what I'm doing. And I would have always wondered, because when I was younger, I used to always say, man, if I would have moved to LA, I wonder what would have happened. I should have moved to LA. It was kind of that thing where I was like, you know what? I can go to Nashville. I don't have to sit and think about this. So we literally sold our house, sold almost everything. We almost living like minimalists,
Wow.
put some stuff in storage and just went for it, and it was a lot of fun.
And Nashville is such a scene. I mean, it seems like every musician should probably live out there for some amount of time.
Yeah, I think you should. And it's like what I guess what LA was in the 80s and whatever, that same kind of vibe. But while I was there, I immediately was able to make some connections and get a couple of songs on the radio, on 2 different radio stations. I had 2 appearances on the Today Show, and I hired like the best Nashville guys. And these guys are guys that play with Garth Brooks, Luke Bryan, Miranda Lambert, Tim McGraw. All their musicians were my backing band for the television appearance. Our drummer, by the way, at that time when I did the TV show, was Troy Lucetta from Tesla.
Okay.
So just
incredible band.
Yeah.
Saw them not too long ago.
Yeah, you like I said, surrounding myself with musicians that are better than me just helps me grow.
Yeah.
And so I was real lucky that I got to meet these guys and work with some of these people, and it's definitely added to who I am as a writer and a producer and a musician. So,
and that's great advice too. Is no matter what you do in life, doing it with or observing others that have been doing it, that are levels above you, will bring you up to that level.
Absolutely. And I feel like I said, I was telling you off the air, I've been doing this a long time, and I still feel like I haven't even reached whatever it's supposed to be. And I'll sometimes say this to people. I feel like sometimes it's the journey and not the destination. And there's always room to grow and learn, because I really came late to the production side of things. Like, I was so afraid of technology that whenever it came time to make any record from any project that I was in over the years, I didn't want anything to do with it. I was just like, well, collectively, let's write some songs. I'll book the studio time. I'll find a producer, whatever. but I didn't understand the concept of going in and, running the board and
Right.
miking the amps and getting tones and doing this and that.
So did you learn this in
I learned
Nashville?
this in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was prior to that, I was starting to teach myself
Gotcha.
some things with Pro Tools and GarageBand
Right, you
and things
tinkered
like
with
that.
gear and whatnot.
But going in there, it was like a paid internship. And all the people that were all the other producers and musicians that I was working with, they're all these young kids like right out of college in Nashville, in Tennessee, from Belmont or whatever. And watching these kids work is crazy because for them, it's as simple as picking up their phone.
Right.
When they're behind the board. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do you learn that? So it's still trial and error, and I'm still learning. But, I'll jump back over to talking about the new record.
Yep.
It's the first time I ever literally just taken on the whole project by myself.
I was going to ask you are producing this whole thing.
And I played every instrument.
Yeah. So you're obviously a self-sufficient musician.
Yes.
You do a lot of acoustic shows just by yourself.
Yeah.
What's your what are the differences for you personally, playing with a band and just playing by yourself? I mean, what satisfaction do you get from each?
I think they satisfy me equally in completely different ways, but there might be maybe I should reword that. There is an edge to when I'm doing something solo acoustic because I never know what I'm going to do when I get up there to do a set. It's just like, what am I feeling? What's my mood? But telling the song and having it stripped down to just one vocal and one guitar, you really get to the root of how the song became compared to what's on the record. But sometimes I like to rock out with the guys too. So
yeah, there's that adrenaline rush that you get
being on a big stage with the full band and the amplifiers and everything like that. So, I mean, I guess I go back and forth, but in Nashville, that's all I did was a solo acoustic gig. So it almost became the norm, and I got used to it, and I enjoyed doing that. And we did what they call out there as riders in the round. So that's a lot of just showcasing. You'd be on stage with 3 or 4 other guys, and you would just take turns doing a song, telling a little story about how you wrote the song. And it was very different than just going to see a band in a bar here. Mm-hmm. And no covers. We strictly had to do your own music.
Everyone did their own.
Yeah.
Very intimate. And I can see how Broken Sun or Let It Go would sound different if it's just you in a quiet bar, or as opposed to listening to it on the record.
Yeah.
You can really get into the nitty gritty of what you're writing about, what you're talking about. You're also currently teaching. What are we are we teaching music?
Music and art.
Okay.
Yeah. That happened by accident. Ended up as like most musicians, if you're not doing it 100% full time or making a living, something to supplement the income, but it's something that I've really enjoyed, and I'll see what happens. The school year is about to end, and see where.
Are you at a school?
I'm at a handful of schools.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of travel. And wow.
Yeah.
Well, you keep yourself busy, don't you?
I do.
Tell me about Damon Johnson. He's featured on this next song, Novocaine.
Damon Johnson. So he currently, now this guy's resume is incredible. As first, Brother Kane was his band in the 90s, and they had #1 song at the radio. But Damon was in Brother Kane, and then he joined Thin Lizzy, and then he joined Alice Cooper.
Okay.
And then now he's a lead guitar player for Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, this guy's, his resume is incredible. But I met him through Robbie Crane, who I mentioned earlier, was a friend of Lynch. It's cool. Robbie introduced me to the coolest guitar players, I guess.
So kind of a hired gun career for him. Yep.
And so same thing. I just called him up. I said, hey, man, I got this song. Would you drop a solo? He's like, absolutely. And so it was that's how we did it. And so
cool.
And this song, we re-released it. So it initially came out just 3 years ago, but it got a second life when another radio station outside of Colorado picked it up, and it started to get traction. So this year it's probably had the most airplay of any of my singles in the last 3 or 4 years. Stations in California, Wyoming, Nashville.
Yeah, it's a rocking song too.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like it a lot. Here's Novocaine. Well, I want to ask you too. You were Romero.
Yes.
And this
on the first 3 records.
Okay, and you just changed that because Romero just kind of gets lost in the algorithm.
100%. It was frustrating because it was ending up on these like hip hop and rap playlists.
Right.
And at one point, Spotify messed it up so bad that like it was my music, but it was a picture of some rapper and with all his songs. But then it was just very confusing. I was like, well, if I go by my full name, they'll find me.
Actually, my
Hopefully.
president and I are laughing at each other because our host company for this radio station does that a lot. If you're listening to us with our app, you'll be hearing a Van Halen song and there's like a picture of Dolly Parton or something. So
Right.
it does get a little messed up. So it makes much more sense than you are now.
Yeah.
Christopher Charles Romero. Here is Novocaine on K4CO.
I was seeking validation, but redemption was a way. No matter what the reason, there was nothing left to say. Oh yeah, I lived in fear and loved the same way, driven by something I can't explain. Stronger than love, stronger than pain. A shot of wisdom like Novocaine. We're not so different, we're really the same. Oh yeah. Heart on my sleeve, just like a new tattoo. Every picture tells a story, and you can see my truth. Driven by something I can't explain. Stronger than love, stronger than pain. A shot of wisdom like Novocaine. We're not so different, we're really the same. Oh yeah, like Novocaine. Below the surface, circle the drain. Under pressure, no one to blame. Driven by something I can't explain. Stronger than love, stronger than pain. A shot of wisdom like Novocaine. We're not so different, we're really the same. Oh yeah, like Novocaine. Broken, battered, bruised and empty, nothing left to fill my soul.
Balls to that. You mentioned you record a lot in Minneapolis. What was the draw to Minneapolis?
So, long story short is I had put out the Rainbow in the Dark as a single
Great cover, Ronnie
And-
James Dio.
and Phoenix Rising, and I was just like handing out little 2-song CDs before we did the official first record. And I was at a Rival Sons show in Denver, and I was just kind of randomly handing them out. I get a phone call one day, and this guy goes, "Hey, I have your demo. This sounds really awesome." And he says, "I work with a studio in Minneapolis. How would you like to go and record there?" And I was thinking, well, sounds cool, but I don't have the money to go to Minneapolis to make a record. He was like, no, we'll pay for everything. I was like, this is too good to be true. But no, it was great. And I ended up doing 3 records with these guys, and it's just been incredible. They're Eric Bloomquist and Ian Combs are the 2 producers, and then myself, along with Ian and Billy Thomas on drums, and Ian on bass and guitar, and myself on guitar. We as a team collectively did the 3 records in Minneapolis. Beautiful studio. And they've worked with everybody from the Jim Blossoms to Joe Bonamassa to Sting. Just one of the coolest. Yeah, it's a beautiful studio.
And thanks for the CDs and the stickers and a cassette tape.
A cassette. Retro.
That takes me back. I'm going to have to dig out my number 2 pencil to rewind this thing.
Yeah.
What is your favorite guitar? What's your brand? Do you have one, or do you just have a...
George helped me get an endorsement deal with ESP, so I've been playing those guys for a minute, but I have mostly Fender. And so I have Fender Telly that's kind of been my go-to lately. So
the Telly, not the Strat, huh?
Not the Strat, yeah, Telly. I love it. It's a Jim Root model, so Slipknot guitar player. That's probably one of my favorites. And then, of course, I have a Frankenstein, an EVH that I had to get for that's more, I think, for nostalgic reasons.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I feel about the cassette tape. It just takes me back. It's very nostalgic. Kind of like when vinyl came back. It came back in the equipment. They started making these incredible turntables, and then vinyl came back. So I'm wondering, or just waiting for the new up-to-date.
Right. And speaking of vinyl, the first record, Rock and Roll, is available on vinyl. And the new one coming out will be on vinyl too, the new Cinco de la Rock and Roll, the one that comes out in May.
Tell us a little bit more about that. A lot of the singles that we've heard are going to be on that.
On the record, yep. There's a couple that you have not heard that I just literally, like last week, finished up the rest of the record. It's been kind of a work in progress for the past year and a half. I'd write a couple of things, and then I would maybe drop a single, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, drop another single, and then I decided to compile it to a record. I guess more or less an EP, because I split it in half. I'd written probably about 22 new songs, and then I broke it down to these 7, and then I have another 7 that I might put out at the end of the year. So no real... the way I'm releasing music is just very randomly, because it's sporadic. It's
That's how it's done these days.
Yeah, it's just the way the model's changed, and being an independent artist, I have the freedom to put things out when I want. And I think it goes back to like why the records are so eclectic in terms of what I do style wise, because even now it's sometimes promoters have a hard time trying to figure out like, where do we put him? Because I've opened up for Dwight Yoakam, who's a major country guy, and then I've played with Five Finger Death Punch. Yeah. 2 completely different things, but somehow it works. Like, it's more cohesive than you would think when you see the band as a whole, whether it's me with a guitar acoustically or the full band. And sometimes we've done it as a power trio, we've done it as a 4-piece, and then to really emulate the record, it takes 7 guys because of everything going on. Keyboards, 3 guitars, like Foo Fighters, and sometimes I bring in a pedal steel guy for some of the country and southern rock stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a big full band, almost like a Skynyrd vibe happening.
Right.
But I love, I'll play with anybody. I don't, like I said, I don't like to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, seem like a pretty malleable musician, artist. So when these songs are already produced and recorded separately, mm-hmm. and you're going to put them all on one album, what's the process to make them all sound like they were all done at the same time for this one particular album?
I guess.
Is that something you do yourself, or do you even bother? Do they sound close enough in the production?
I think the production was the same, because with the new record, I did most of it in Nashville, but literally in my bedroom.
Okay.
Home recording studio, and finished it up at home in Greeley. So production-wise, it was everything, because I'm using the same instruments. It's kind of like every record is sort of like a chapter in my life. So you kind of can see these different, peaks and valleys of what I'm doing and where I'm coming from, whether it's lyrically or musically, and it gives you a good idea of like what I've been listening to as well. So, you know, I always do wear, you know, I've mentioned like my main influences, whether it was Kiss and Van Halen and Motley Crue and Skynyrd and Bad Company. But as of late, it's been Butch Walker and Rival Sons and Ryan Adams and Chris Stapleton. Yeah. And so the more I'm listening to that, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, those influences are going to somehow kind of sneak their way into the writing.
Just come out of you, yeah.
Yeah, and so this record, to me, is more Americana and more straight ahead, like of a melodic rock thing, than say not as heavy as Phoenix Rising or Novocaine, which you just played. But like I said, when you come to the show, the way we present the songs and weave in and out of the different genres and styles, it still works. Everything is just like, it never makes sense on paper, but it's always more cohesive in a live environment, and it just somehow works. Yeah. And I think I've been lucky in that sense, because I would get too bored if I was on a label and they were like, all right, we need another Novocaine, we need another, you know, if they want you to just keep repeating and writing the same thing, I think I would grow bored of that. Yeah. as just
and that's what
musician.
Pigeonholes you.
Yeah.
The new record is called Cinco de Rock and Rolla.
Cinco de la
Rock and Rolla.
Yeah.
And you said it's coming out in May
17th on CD, and then in we don't have the date, but late June on vinyl.
Okay. And what do you have any dates to look forward to?
Yes. 4th of July, we're going to be opening for Cheap Trick. We're direct support at the Greeley Stampede.
Awesome.
In the main stage arena. And then July 13th, we're doing a music festival in Fort Morgan, Colorado called Bobstock. And then August 17th, we're opening for Lynch Mob at the Brighton Armory Event Center in Brighton, Colorado.
What is Bobstock?
Bobstock is
How long have that been going on?
It's been going on for, I don't know, 10, 20 years, maybe longer. Every year, the city of Fort Morgan does a free concert in the park, and it's just amazing. They have 3-4 stages, cover bands, original bands, tribute bands, and they always bring in some cool headliners. Usually it's somebody old school, 70s or 80s.
Right.
And everybody from...
they've kind of like a Cheap Trick.
They'll have a Warrant or Great White, or... They've had Vanilla Ice. They've had Sugar Ray. There's always they've had LA Guns. They always bring in a national from the, you know, like 70s or 80s. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
You can find Christopher at ChristopherCharlesRomero.net and all streaming platforms, I assume. I found you on Spotify, Apple, and whatnot. Before we leave, I also want to tell you I like your approach with your covers as well. Your original material is clearly awesome. I like it a lot. But your approach to, like you mentioned earlier, Rainbow in the Dark from Dio. Dio was one of my, probably it was my first concert. I was about 14 years old, little metalhead. So when I heard Rainbow in the Dark and just your approach to it, I was really impressed with. Almost an Americana approach to
like
that,
like a Southern
as well.
rock kind of thing. Yeah, it's one of those things, and I've told people this before. My approach to doing a cover, and I think it should be it's challenging because, like, okay, how do you honor the original song, but how do you make it your own? And that is a tough thing, right? Because sometimes I'll hear, you know, some national act cover whoever, and it ends up sounding just like the original artist that they were covering. To me, that's boring. Like, take something, put a twist on it, make it your own, but still enough that people can recognize.
Yeah, instead of playing it exactly the way it's
exactly the
done.
same way. Yeah.
And I'm going to play Rainbow in the Dark later this afternoon on Kev on the Radio. But right now, and closing, I want to play My Hey Hey Out of the Blue, Neil Young's classic. You did a great version of this.
We took this one in the studio. This was a lot of fun, and my approach was like, let's do this as if it was like Alice in Chains. So I threw in all these kind of dark and heavy harmonies and overdubs, and we had like 12 acoustic guitars on that intro. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
It came out great. Well, Christopher, I want to thank you for being here, and you are invited back.
I can't wait to come back. And next time, I'll bring my guitar, and we'll do some campfire singing and
absolutely play some songs and catch up. All right. Well, thank you again. Christopher Charles Romero here on K4CO. We're going to close out with his brilliant cover to My Hey Hey Out of the Blue by Neil Young. Thanks again, Christopher.
Thank you.
Rock and roll is here to stay. Better to burn out than to fade away. My, hey, hey. Out of the blue, into the black. They give you this, but you pay for that. And once you're gone, you can never come back. When you're out of the blue, into the black. The king is gone, but he's not forgotten. This is the story of Johnny Rotten. Better to burn out than it is to rust. The king is gone, but he's not forgotten. Hey, hey, my. Rock and